You want to tell me the story about the one-eyed chicken?
Yeah, but let me start back before that.
Okay.
One of the first things and I don't know why I remember it. I probably remember it because Mama's told the story so many times. But when I was about a year old, she was cooking some. We lived in Louisville. And she was cooking some catfish, frying some catfish, and Mama always used her apron to hold the pan,
Oh, yeah.
hot pan, and when she did, she sloshed the grease, and the grease caught on fire, and it caught her on fire, and she was trying to run out the back door with it and throw it out the back door, and I was crawling over toward her. She was screaming, she was on fire, and so she picked me up, threw me across the room, and I always say that's what's wrong with me today. I hit the wall, and so Linda was in there, and Linda took off running. Mama was on fire, and Linda took off running toward the Aunt Jane's house across the pasture, hollering, "Mama's on fire! Mama's on fire!" And Daddy and Grandpa Watson were driving up about that time. Grandpa was driving in Daddy's old car, and Grandpa heard her saying Mama's on fire, and he thought she was saying Bubba's on fire. So he didn't even stop the car. He just jumped out of the car and left it rolling. He took off running across the pasture. And it was so far over there, by the time he got there, he had to sit down on the porch and catch his breath.
Oh my God.
Of course, Mama burned herself pretty bad. But
Oh my gosh.
anyway, that's one of the first stories I remember about when I was young. But
Yeah.
and when I was 6, of course, we used to play down under the trees. Uncle Revo and Daddy had made this big table down, and call it under the trees, big old pecan trees between our houses. That's where all of us kids played. And David and Tim and Mike and all of them come down. Walt Garrison and his family, all of our friends would come down there and play all the time. But that's where we got in a lot of trouble, going over to the Smith's pasture next door and shooting BBs at bulls and stuff. But when we were 6, me and Tim were 6, Aunt Cat took us out to Grandpa's farm to stay one day, and we were out just doing nothing, playing in the barns and stuff. David was breaking eggs against the wall and not telling anybody. So Tim and I decided we'd try to catch a chicken. And we couldn't catch a chicken because they were too fast for us, except Grandpa had this best laying hen. She had one eye. She was blind in one eye. So I told Tim, I said, get on one side of her and run her toward me, and I'll catch her. So he did, and I caught the chicken, and we sat there, and we didn't know what to do with that old one-eyed chicken. And so we decided we'd throw it down in the toilet, the outdoor toilet. So we went over and threw it down in the outdoor toilet, and about 30 minutes later, Grandpa came out to take his daily constitution, and he always wore overalls. And we saw him go in, and we said, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble now." And we hid behind the propane tank. And all of a sudden, there's screaming and hollering going on. He came running out, and his britches were down around his ankle. That chicken had flopped up and hit him in the butt, scared the living daylights out of him. So he made Mike, our older cousin, fish him out and wash him off and everything. And Grandpa would tell that story after that, and he said, that hen laid brown eggs from that day on. And David took that story, and Aunt Cat embellished it when he ran for mayor and told it as David doing that.
Oh my
And David never went anywhere near it. He's the one that told on us.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. What happened? Did y'all get in trouble?
Well, Tim did. Aunt Cat, all the way home, she said, "You go in there and tell your mother to give you a spanking for what you did. Tim's getting a spanking." And I went in and told Mama what Tim did. told her Tim did, and I didn't get a spanking.
I can't believe David told on y'all.
Oh, he was always telling us. He's the biggest. He just loved to get us in trouble. He cheated worse than anybody in games I've ever seen.
Was he the youngest?
No, David's older than me and Tim. I was 6 months older than Tim. And Eileen was 6 months older than me. had such a good time growing up.
So special.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I chased those girls through that house of Uncle Revo's. Every one of them had a split in their chin where they tripped and fell, and I was usually chasing them.
And that was out in Louisville, or
I was in Louisville.
Louisville?
I set the pasture on fire one time, Daddy. We had a big old, like a watered out area that would burn trash in down there. And we'd go down there and burn trash like a dump. That's what people did back then.
Yeah.
We didn't have garbage trucks.
Yeah.
So Daddy said, well, go down there and burn the trash. I set it on fire. Well, I set the whole pasture on fire.
Shoot.
And all of a sudden, I hear these sirens coming. I ran back to the house and I hid under Mom and Daddy's bed. I thought they was coming to arrest me.
Oh my God.
I wasn't even 6 years old. And I was peeping out from under the bed out that window.
Oh my gosh.
And that's about the time that, it was long about that time that we nearly shot Ruthie. Daddy had gone off somewhere to work, I think down at I think he went to Houston to work a tornado for the phone company. And Mama wanted to know how to shoot Daddy's gun. He was 22, and Daddy had already taught me how to shoot it. But anyway, we got the gun out, and that's back when we only had 2 bedrooms in the house, and Ruthie's bed was up against the wall in Mom and Daddy's room. And Mama got the gun out, and I showed her how to point, and I said, you just pull this off, and you just pull this trigger right here, and pull the trigger, and went, Choo! Ruthie had been standing in that bed 2 seconds before that, right where that bullet went, and she had just sat down. It would have hit her right in the head.
Oh my God.
So we decided to put the gun up.
Oh, Lord. Oh, I bet Grandma freaked out.
She did.
Oh my Lord. I had never heard that story.
We had some times growing up, man. When Linda stole my bicycle, she didn't steal it. She just didn't ask me permission to ride it. She went up on top of Lee Drive, and she's riding down about 20 miles an hour, showing off. And I grabbed Ruthie's hula hoop and was hiding from behind the tree. And I ran out in the middle of the street, threw it around her, and jerked her off the bike. Nearly killed her. Well, Daddy was watching.
Oh my God.
I thought he was going to beat me to death. But things like that, you know, just growing up, kids growing up,
Yeah.
watching you, little when you were a little bitty, not you. Where's my little sister, Janine?
Janine.
We moved over to Bedford, and we had a dog named Pepper, big old collie. And we were the last street on Lee Drive, and they were building houses behind us. And Janine and I'd get out there in that backyard, and that dog would circle her and not let anybody near her. Those workers and stuff just guard her like a guard dog.
That's so funny.
It was real cool.
So you moved to Lee Drive later on?
We moved in 1957 when I was 10 years old. We moved from Louisville to Bedford on Lee Drive. And, that's a big move for Daddy. Paid $11,000 for that house and thought he was going to be broke. He just didn't know how he was going to make those $99 a month payments for that house.
Oh my gosh.
In 1957. And then I started school. We started at this, they used to call it Southhurst. It was the original school in Hurst. And then it became a special ed school.
Yeah.
After we left it. But me and Walter and who else? Bobby Hain. Yeah, Bobby went there, I think. Susan Starnes, all of us went there. Eddie Gill and David Watson. Anyway, me and David and Walter decided we were going to make this real world record rubber band. And we put all these rubber bands together and stretched them out on the playground. Bent Walter over, and we just stretched as tight as we could. We're going to shoot him in the butt. Well, it just flitters to the ground before it ever gets there, you know.
Yeah.
We thought we were really smart, and it never did work. But me and Walter would go in and buy 12 and 14 little pints of chocolate milk for lunch. That's all we'd have for lunch. Just make ourselves sick on that stuff. I had more fun with those boys. Old David Watson got up at a show, a talent show, and did Old Shep. When I was a lad, Old Shep was a pup over hills and meadows would roam. Anyway, we had some times, man. We had some real times growing up.
I've always loved that y'all spent a lot of years together.
Yeah.
Went to school together for so long and stayed friends.
We still do. We still see each other quite a bit.
It's really special.
People come in the store all the time, and that I haven't seen in years, and those guys will say, "How do you know these people?" Well, I've lived here all my life, and live long enough, you're gonna meet a lot of people.
And back then, you weren't stuck to your cell phone or your iPad or TV. Man. So the house in Louisville, you said that Aunt Jane and Uncle Revo were just across the pasture?
Yeah, we had 5 acres, and then they had 3 acres over here on North Charles. Daddy sold Uncle Revo 3 acres. And they built Daddy's house. It was a 2-bedroom house up on this hill in a barn. We had no Jersey cow that Daddy and I went out and milked every morning that Grandpa gave us. And then later on, when Grandpa Watson died, we sold the farm outside of Louisville. We bought Grandma a house and put it on right over there by our house. And of course, Uncle Revo built his house and just kept building and building and building. And just keep on adding on.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to, Grandma died and they wanted to sell Grandma's house. Well, Daddy had paid for all of that.
Yeah.
It was on Daddy's land, and the other sisters wanted part of it because it's Grandma's. So it kind of split the family a little bit. And so Mom and Daddy decided it was time to move away from them. That's when they moved to Bedford.
Yeah.
But then when Uncle Revo bought that land down in East Texas, he offered Daddy a real good deal on 5 acres like Daddy had done him, and helped him build the house, So
That's good.
yeah, it was payback. It was sweet payback. And then we built that little house on the prairie, I called it. Remember that little bitty house?
Yes, little
We
house.
stayed in that.
I love that. We used to love to go play in there.
Yeah. Well, they lived in it for several years.
So they lived there before they started
With the big one.
building the big one? Oh, wow.
That was the whole plan, live in that one and build a big one and have that one as a guest house, and it worked out perfect.
Yeah. Always loved going down there.